Hey friends, welcome again. We will be discussing about retrograde Saturn, and in today's video, we will talk about retrograde Saturn in the fourth and the fifth house. We have started this series since last week, wherein we have talked about retrograde Saturn in the first, second, and third house. If you have not seen that before, please feel free to check out my previous videos. And in today's video, we will talk about what happens when you have retrograde Saturn. We're not talking about the Saturn which is called as Margya or which is Stambhya. We are talking about retrograde or Vakri Saturn. So if you have retrograde Saturn in the fourth house, it shows the condition will be as similar as the retrograde Saturn in the first house. In one of the aspect, it deals with the failure on the part of the native of the chart to develop himself in such a way that his influence upon others was more positive. So friends, as we have discussed in our first video, retrograde Saturn shows a lot of things related to your past. It shows a lot of depth about your past life. Since all who come within our sphere or our personal environment are influenced by us, our attitudes, our personality, the retrograde Saturn indicates the negative influence of the individual in the past. Could be you might have had a negative influence on the individuals in the past, and as a part of this birth, Saturn wants to teach you a lesson that how to behave, how to create a positive influence on whoever you meet. It could also mean that the individual did not attempt, nor was he concerned with how he affected other people. Usually you come across people wherein you think like, oh, this guy doesn't have emotions at all. He is a selfish person. He doesn't care about the feelings. So Saturn year, that to retrograde, it shows that the person in this birth, he had to learn to be concerned with the feelings of other. He has to learn to be polite, to be respectful, to understand the emotions. That's what Saturn over here is trying to teach. Since Cancer is the natural ruler of the fourth house, how did we come to this conclusion? If you consider naturally, like considering Aries as the first house, so from there count 4, and that will lead us eventually to Cancer or Kark. So, since Cancer is the natural ruler of the fourth house, the feeling concept was misused or neglected in the past. So, what does Cancer or this sign shows here? Cancer, who is the lord of Cancer? So, Moon is the lord of Cancer, right? And here, Saturn is showing that Moon sense is associated with the feelings. That this person might have misused others' feelings or might have played with others' feelings, right? And that's what Saturn is trying to teach here. The other aspect of retrograde Saturn in the fourth house is that the individual did not provide the necessary environmental factors requisite to a proper home condition. This could be anything. This could be the actual home facilities or the atmosphere in the home. So what this means, this person could be quarrelsome at home. He would have fought with his home members. So if he's a person, if he's a male, in that case, were property issues. If she is a female, maybe not having good terms with her in-laws or maybe any of the relatives in the family. Bottom line, trying to disturb the atmosphere in the home. So, the lesson of the retrograde Saturn in the fourth house requires the transmutation of attitudes relating to how we influence and affect those who are in contact with us, and how we communicate the proper feelings in our daily relationships. You might find some people who have a lot of things going on in their brain, but they don't communicate. Communication, guys, in this world is of utmost importance. Nobody knows what's cooking in your mind. A mother, in fact, might not even know what's going on in her son's head. The ease of living life is the ease of communication. If you want to make your life easy, be sure to communicate in a nice way. Whatever is going on in your mind, be polite and convey your feelings to the other person. Don't create a jargon of things, right? That's what Saturn is trying to teach here. Regardless of the struggle of effort required, the individual should and must establish proper home facilities and create a constructive atmosphere in the home. So, friends, that's my analysis of Saturn in the fourth house. Let's see what happens if you have retrograde Saturn in the fifth house. Excuse me. Retrograde Saturn in the fifth house shows responsibilities towards children were neglected. Fifth house is generally associated with kids, with children, with studies. So over here, Saturn shows that children were misused, even to the point of being abused. So might be in the past birth, you might not have had good terms with your kids. You might have abused them. Even now, we do hear the stories of parents abusing their kids for different reasons. As if some parents, I'm not saying about usually the parents are great, but in some cases, they abuse for small, small reasons, and which in a way is not good. Why? Because you hurt the confidence and the morale of your kids. Even if your intent is good, subconsciously you are hurting their morals. So over here, Saturn is trying to teach you a lesson for the same. In love affairs, the individual use members of the opposite sex for self-gratification and self-fulfillment, with little regard to the results of effects upon others. So over here, Saturn also shows one more thing, that this person might have used the love affairs just for his lust. He or she might have had been selfish and without being concerned about the feeling of others, they were trying to indulge or satisfy their own needs. In short, they were not trying to be serious. Over here, Saturn also shows that the creativity was ignored or misused because of the ego-centeredness of this individual. So fifth house, as we know, is associated with a lot of things. It can be your creativity. It can be love affairs. It can be your children. So over here, Saturn shows that the creativity of any individual, say if you're an entrepreneur and you have a very good employee working for you, but you might have had ignored his creativity or misused. Basically, whatever he did, you might have taken the credit for that. You might have said, like, oh, this is the creation done by me. So, there was an inherent misuse of the creativity. Anything the individual created in the past reflected self rather than being for the sake of creativeness or what was being created. So, these are some of the things that retrograde Saturn in the fifth house does try to show. So, what are the lessons? Usually, children are denied to people who have retrograde Saturn in the fifth house, or the number of children is limited. If children are denied, the individual could very easily engage in some act of work which would deal with children, especially handicapped children. If children are limited, it would require the wise raising of the children, the assumption of responsibility, of and proper guidance and proper direction given to these children. This person might also have to accept the fact that regardless of what he does, there might not be the appreciation or any hope forward from his children. He has to accept the fact, he has to accept his past karma, that whatever he does, how much he does, is not going to be appreciated by his kids. In relation to the affairs with the opposite sex, it requires caution and a realization of the responsibility an individual has when it comes to the relationship with the opposite sex, whether it be physical, social, mental, or spiritual. Creativity should be for the sake of creation itself rather than how it would reflect the individual. Friends, this is my analysis of retrograde Saturn in the fifth house. If you like this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you do have any comments, please do not forget to post your comments in the comment section below. Well, that's all for now. See you in the next episode with Saturn in the houses 6 and 7. Until then, sayonara.